to go ahead and start recording.
Okay, terrific. Well, thank you everybody for joining us this morning on this special call just for CFs. And I think we snuck in a few BFs possibly as well. And I was talking to a few people recently about, essentially I want to say about addressing the energy of what is with the judgments around you and the judgments that you have in your business and how those are playing out in what you're creating. And I have to give a shout out. I was inspired by Miss Simone Milicis with her call coming up called I Need a Man. And she put out the advertisements for this call, and it struck me because I thought, how genius for someone to just put it out there and nail on the head by saying, this is where most of you are sitting, whether you're acknowledging it or not. And I was looking at that and I went, so where are most facilitators sitting? And where is the point of view that we may not be acknowledging that is creating our business as it is now? And whether we like to look at it or not, a lot of us are sitting there going, why don't they come to my classes? What am I doing wrong? What's going on that they're not here? So I did the video that some of you might have seen yesterday, outlining sort of in a comical way, some of the different reasons that we all have, and they are all reasons and justifications. They are all our excuses for what isn't going on, to address some of those different things. Now, as we go through this call, and I really want to invite you all to interrupt, ask questions, make this a conversation, because I'd love to look at each of you, if possible, or just a few, in what's going on for you in your business and for you as a facilitator, and how we can contribute to each other, getting these tools out in the world. A few years ago, actually, it was quite a few years ago now, like going on 8 or 9, we sent out a questionnaire to all of the people on the Access database, which wasn't as big of a database as it is now, but still pretty big. And we asked 3 questions, basically around how people found Access and what it was about Access that drew them to it. And I had the very lucky job of going through all of this data of everybody's responses and collating through what it was that brought people to Access and how they found it. Now, what was interesting about that was almost always, for everybody, overwhelmingly, what drew them to Access and actually made them want to come to a class was exposure to tools. There was almost never a single facilitator singled out by name, whether it was Dane or Gary or anybody who was doing a lot of the classes at the time. It really wasn't about them. It was about a tool that they were introduced to that made the person go, wow, they're putting to words that which I know is true and would create what I'm looking for. So everywhere that you're making facilitation and your business as an Access facilitator about you, can we destroy and uncreate all that now, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. And everywhere you're making your business and your Access facilitation about not you, can we destroy and uncreate that all, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. Because here's the thing, you have to be included in what you create, but you have to invite the world to what you create as well. It's the whole thing about consciousness when we say that consciousness judges nothing and includes everything. That means you have to include you in everything you create, and you have to include the world in everything you create as well. So everything that brings up or lets down, can we destroy and uncreate it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And while I go on here, I just want to start with a little clearing that I've got for you. It's just a little clearing, boys and girls, so that we can run this while we talk. So what jails are you using for the dominance of E equals MC squared to create the size of classes, size of life, and scope of possibility you are currently choosing? Everything that is times a godzillion. Can we destroy and uncreate it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. So I'm going to run that again for you. And translators, if I talk too fast or anything like that, just let me know. I'm kind of excited this morning. So what jails are using for the dominance of E equals MC squared to create the size of classes, size of life, and scope of possibility I am currently choosing? Everything that is times a godzillion. Can we destroy and uncreate it all? Because guess what, ladies and gentlemen? In order for your business to expand and your classes to expand, you have to be willing to have more. And when I say have more, I don't just mean more money. I don't just mean a bigger business in terms of more staff. You're actually going to have to receive more. Now, at the 7-day that we just did in Costa Rica, there was a fabulous description that Gary gave of receiving when someone asked a question. And it was so concise, I'd never quite heard it this eloquently before. And he said, receiving is not the money you get. Receiving is getting the download of everything. You get all the stuff you like and want, and all the stuff you don't like and want. And from there, you get choice. So what have you been unwilling to receive from access that if you would receive it, would manifest as the growth and expansion of your life and your business? And everything that is times a godzillion. Can we destroy it and create it all?
Yes.
Yes. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Now, that willingness to receive doesn't just mean more clients. It means more of the things you may have labeled as problems or difficulties. And as my wonderful friend Steve Bowman says, what if there were no problems? What if every problem was a possibility with a point of view attached? So what possibility are you turning into a problem with the point of view you are choosing? Everything that is times a godzillion. Can we destroy and uncreate it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Yes, says Wendy. As I say, feel free to interrupt me or I will just go. One of the things.
A question.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Marina.
Chris, hi, and hi to everybody. So that's fun because I literally occasionally found right now the letter of this call, and I was like, oh my gosh, because I have a lot of, like, not a lot of, I have a question about my classes because I just had class, like foundation, and will have in 2 days. And after 7-day events, I literally see how they're not like dropping down, but the quality of people like decreasing. And in my work,
stop. What do you mean by the quality of people?
not quality, quantity.
Ah, okay, the number of people. Gotcha.
Number of people. And as you start to talk right now, and I realized that I have a feeling that after this 7-day event, it was so expanding that I perceive it right now, like, you know, like the bus left and I'm standing at the bus stop alone and like, oh my gosh, you know, like why I stayed here, why while bus already like left, you know, like, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what should I do? Where should I run? Like, oh.
Okay, cool. Thank you for, that's a great question. Thank you. Look, what if the bus hadn't left? What if what actually is occurring is so much has changed and you've opened so many doors to so much more space that things just aren't the way they used to be?
Yeah, that's what's going on. It's freaking out, you know, like totally.
Awesome. Well, if you're willing to go on the adventure and the ride of possibility for things to be different, what if you didn't look at what wasn't happening or what was wrong, and instead looked at the new possibility that was available? So for all of those of you out there that actually were online or were available to come live to that 7-day, would you be willing to look at what possibilities are available to you now that you've never acknowledged before? So everything that doesn't allow that, can we destroy and uncreate it all?
Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock,
Yes.
shorts, boys, and beyond. One of the ways I look at this is, or a metaphor or an analogy for it might be, imagine that you've lived in a house for the last few years, and one day you noticed a door you hadn't noticed before. And you open the door and there's a whole new wing of the house with whole new rooms you didn't know were there. What if that's how, a little bit of how some of these classes in consciousness work? You're opening doors to have a larger life that you get to play in, create in, and live in. Things not being the same might not be such a bad thing in that case. They're just different. And we've got a question on in the chat here about what about those who weren't at the 7-day? Well, look, I'm sorry to tell you, but consciousness includes everyone and everything. Just because you weren't at the 7-day doesn't mean that consciousness is different. Those who were there and were available to go to that class and made that choice created a change in the world, not just for them. It really changed things for everybody. And you, being as aware as you are, may notice that. You may notice that things are different and things are up in your world. And it can be more comfortable, in my experience, when you actually go to the class so that you have a bit more facility with some of those new changes, having been there for it, and can sort of identify it for what it is. So everything that brings up or lets down, can we destroy and uncreate all that? Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. But I want to just go back to one of the things that Marina brought up for everyone to look at this with their business. One of the tools that I use constantly that creates change for me in my business is always to go and acknowledge what is occurring with my business, what is great, not what isn't there. We get into this headset when we're looking for creating more or creating change, where we focus on the problems. We focus on the people that aren't showing up, rather than looking at it and going, well, what is great about my business? What is changing that I've not acknowledged? So everywhere you've dedicated your life as a facilitator or in business to only looking for the problems and never acknowledging the possibilities and the greatnesses, can we destroy and uncreate all that?
Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Because as we all know, as facilitators of consciousness, it's in the foundation manual why is not really a constructive question. So I kind of tricked you with the title of this call being why they don't come to your class, because that's where so many people are sitting. We're looking at the whys for what isn't working rather than the greatness of what is. So here's a little bit of homework and a challenge for you today. What 10 things can you acknowledge today about you and your business that are great, that are working, and that are the difference of you? Everything. That is times a godzillion. Can we destroy and create it all?
Yes.
Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9 shorts, boys, meons. So
Can you speak a little bit more about the thing you were saying, like looking more into why it's not working instead of what it's great about it?
yeah.
What is that?
Okay. So maybe I'll give you an example. So in one of my jobs, I guess, or one of my streams of income, one of the things that I am part of is the Antique Guild in Brisbane. Gary Douglas started the Antique Guild. We have 2 shops in Brisbane, and we sell jewelry and antiques all over the world. And sometimes I will look at the accounting of the business, and I will look at the expenses in the business and how, oh my God, we've got all these bills to pay. We have to pay this and this and this and this and this. And I'll focus on that, as opposed to looking at the business and going, wow, look at how much has changed over the 8-9 years since we've opened, and look at the possibilities we've created in people's lives. I'm not saying ignore the books and the accounting, but I'm saying be aware of it without a point of view, but also be aware of and acknowledge those things that you are creating, those things that you're changing, and those things that are great about you, about your business, and about that which you facilitate on the planet.
It makes a big difference.
Yeah, actually makes.
Yeah.
And focusing on what's not happening and focusing on what is happening and what has grown in the business and
Being creative. Yeah.
being creative.
Yeah. When I started with Right Voice for You, not really that long ago, like it was 2 or 3 years ago. And I know to a humanoid, 2 to 3 years can seem like centuries, but really it's not that long. But I was maybe a year into facilitating Right Voice for You classes, and I called Gary and I said, it's not working. Nothing's happening. I said, I put up classes and I get 6 people. And he went, oh yeah? How long have you been doing it, asshole? And I went, 11 months. And he said, okay, come talk to me in another year and tell me how many people are coming to your classes. And I went, fine. And a year later, I had to call him and I had to say, I'm sorry, you were right. I owe you $1. And he said, how many people are coming now? I said, 15 to 20 people. He went, great. Call me in another year.
We will have to call you in another year.
Exactly. But look at that. Things grow and things expand. You're just so damn impatient that you want it all right fucking now.
Exactly.
So for those of us who are that impatient, and I know that's basically all of us and more, what if the cure to that impatience was having more going on? What if you regardless of whether you think this is true, did not have enough going on in your life for exactly how creative you are.
Yeah.
That is brilliant. That is fucking brilliant. Thank you.
I think that hit the spot. Yes. If
So
we are-
Vanita has asked, so what changed in that year to increase the numbers coming to your classes? What changed is I stopped looking at what it wasn't and started being grateful for what it was. And I got over my point of view about what the numbers meant and the relevance of who came and what revenue came from it. The first year that I was doing business, I lost money on almost every class that I did. And that was one of the things that led me to the point of view that I had that my business wasn't working. But you have got to be, as I said before, be aware of the numbers, but don't make them significant. Everything that is times a godzillion. Can we destroy and uncreate it all?
Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Do you know, I did a class in last year. I'm not even going to say where it was. Everything about that class that I did was what they tell you in facilitator class not to do. When they say, don't stay with your hosts, I stayed with the hosts. When everything about it was, I basically had to work 24/7. The class wasn't growing to a size that I was happy with. So I decided to combine my accommodation, the host's accommodation, and the class venue. Oh, and the translator's accommodation. So we all stayed in this house. And a house that was supposed to have 4 people in it, well, people just kept arriving. And by last count, there was 9 people staying in this house. There were something like 4 hosts and a translator for a class that had 3 people in it. I worked my ass off. And I kept asking, okay, is this creating a different possibility? Is this creating a future? Yep. Okay, great. And I kept going. And each and every person in that class has written to me or called me since and told me that their whole life has changed. There are people that were in that class that went on to become facilitators themselves, and I've seen them create so much more from that. So everywhere that you're judging you for doing it wrong, can we just destroy and uncreate all that? Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. Now, the other thing I want to give you as a tool to look at and use is the whole thing of point of view. Because one of the things that I've learned in becoming a facilitator about classes and class sizes, etc., is your point of view really does create your reality. Again, in the first 18 months to a year of having my business, I was frustrated with who was coming along or how much work I had to put in versus what was actually occurring. And a friend of mine said to me, yeah, it's weird. You do all this stuff, but a lot of it doesn't seem to stick. And he said to me, so what's your point of view of your business? And I said, oh, well, my point of view is I'm not doing enough. And he said, well, if your point of view is you're not doing enough, can you ever actually do enough by your point of view to satisfy what is enough to be done? I went, no. I hadn't been willing to look at that and look at what point of view I was actually using to create my business. So truth, what point of view are you using to create the business you are choosing? Everything that is times a godzillion. Can we destroy and uncreate it all?
Yes.
Right and wrong,
Yeah.
good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. So truth, what point of view are you using to create the business you are choosing? Everything that is times a godzillion. Can we destroy and uncreate it all?
Yes, please.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Can't even say the clearing statement right after that. See, why am I here this morning, and why am I doing this for you guys? To me, my target in life is to create a place where everybody has more, where everyone can create greater, and everyone is happy and enjoys everything that they create. So for me, I will do anything that facilitates that on the planet. Even if it's not always super glamorous or super quote unquote fun for me, I'm willing to do it and willing to go there. So what else can I contribute to you and your businesses?
Thanks, Chris. We do have a message in the chat from Kushbu. I'm probably mutilating the name. Sorry about that.
No,
asking if
that's
you-
the right pronunciation. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yay. Asking if you can talk about the classes you're aware that she's aware people are not willing to receive, that she's developed amazing content, and the class is telling this is just not the time for it to come out to the world.
Okay, fine. So if it's not the time for the class to come out in the world, what else can you do in the meantime?
Creating more classes, creating other things.
Yeah, create something else. If it's not time for that one, okay, good. I remember years ago, Simone Milasas was in Seoul, Korea, visiting for one of the first 2s and 3s that we had there. And we had stopped by my house, and I was sitting at my desk and opened a desk drawer, and I had this mock-up for this project I had sort of started. It was a cartoon with 2 characters called Pock and Pod, and it was a language course I was looking at taught through cartoons for kids in Korea. And it was all about pocking and potting their points of view and their beliefs around language. And she said, "What's that?" And I went, "Oh, it's this thing I was working on, but it didn't work, so I've kind of chucked it out." And she went, "Wow. What if you never had to chuck out any of your creations? You started them, gave them life, added energy to them when they required, and never had the expectation that they were anything other than what they are right now."
Can I ask a question here, Chris?
Yes, in one moment. So how many of your projects and your creations are you discarding and dismissing because they don't match your projection and expectation of what they should and could be? Everything. That is times a godzillion. Can we destroy and uncreate it all?
Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Kushbu, yes, go ahead.
Okay, so
Yes.
this class that I have created, it's on ask and receive. So it's like come across with my own awareness and a lot of access tools and questions. So what's happening with this particular class that I am really excited. I want to put this out to the world. And since I know it's like, if the class is not showing up as like, this is the right time for it, I'm trying to push this class in a form so that people can receive it.
Of
So
course
is it
you
a good idea?
You have to push. You're Indian.
Yeah. So I'm just getting like, am I doing this wrong, or am I not being great? Like Am I being this force energy on the energy of the class itself? I'm
Yes,
just
you're
wondering,
wrong.
what am I doing?
You're doing it wrong.
Okay.
I'm kidding.
Now what? No, but please help me out with this, because, this is what's happening. I'm judging myself and I'm not putting it out. I'm also wondering if I should still put it out, whether people receive it or not. This is what
Well,
I want to bring out to the world.
okay, this is what you want to bring out into the world. Notice
Yeah.
how that energy of what you would actually like to create, I want to put this energy out in the world. In that, there's no expectation and no projection of anything else. You just want to see
Yeah.
that energy out in the world.
Yes,
So then
exactly.
why does it matter who chooses it?
Yeah, right.
It's like we have this idea that our creations are only a success if they are financially successful and lots of people get it and choose it. What if that wasn't how you judged and measured the value of your creations?
Yeah, I was buying into that projection. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Gary Douglas. He's been doing this with Access for over 20 years. And Simone tells the story of the very first facilitator class that she ever went to. He did his own registrations. Simone paid in stickers. Another lady paid with money she presented from her underwear, if memory serves. He was willing to have that because it matched the energy of expanding what he wanted to create on the planet. But in order to have that kind of expansion and growth, you really have to get over your point of view of what it's supposed to look like. So what have you decided it's supposed to look like, the creation and growth of your classes?
Yeah, I get that now.
Everything that is times a godzillion. Can we destroy and uncreate it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, line shorts, boys and beyonds. And I do want to address one thing with what you're saying. When they did the happiness class for the first time with Access, there was like 6 people, or I can't remember the numbers, but there was very few people that actually chose it and were willing to have it. Are you presenting things to people in a way that is too much for them?
Yeah, that's what I'm getting. Yeah.
So what if you addressed actually what is? And what if you addressed actually where people are, rather than trying to reach them where you think they should want to go? Everything that is times a godzillion. Can we destroy and uncreate it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. One of the things that I first heard maybe 12, 13 years ago when I first came along to Access is, if you give people more than they can receive, they will return it with a dagger attached. So everything that is times a godzillion, and we destroy and uncreate it all.
Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. You have a scope of possibility, you as facilitators, of a world that is constantly expanding and massive compared to a lot of the people that will first be coming to your classes. You don't have to give them the entirety of what you know is possible on day 1. Oh, how many of you are still getting it as you go along with Access and consciousness and exploring more possibility? Yeah, we all are. One of the great gifts I see in the world, and I see with consciousness, is we will never be done. Infinite expansions means there will always be more available. There will always be more awareness available. There will always be more possibilities to choose. It is not finite. Just as receiving is not a destination, receiving is constantly expanding as well. There will always be more to receive. So everything that brings up or lets down, can we destroy and uncreate it all?
Yes, please.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9 shorts, boys and beyond. So how many of you out there are trying to be done with your access business, resulting in a little bit of frustration? You're trying to be done, but you can never be done as an infinite being constantly expanding. And you're frustrated because you think you should have arrived at some destination that you don't even know what it looks like or what it is. So everything that is times a godzillion, can we destroy and uncreate all that? Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds.
Chris, can I ask a question?
Sure you can.
Well, first of all, wonderful to see you, and thank you for this. This conversation is absolutely fucking amazing.
You're welcome.
So we've been doing like classes that basically, for photographers, as you know, that basically have been a massive invitation to consciousness, the tools, access, everything else. And especially the last couple of classes, one in Los Angeles and one in New York that I had about a week ago, they were, I mean, people are really willing to go there. And my frustration is like, you know, okay, we've done this for so long now. Why are they not fucking choosing to take at least a bars class and then a foundation and go further? You know, it's like, I'm getting that it's an expectation and whatever, but it's like, yeah.
Yeah, well, you kind of did my job there, because so how many expectations, projections, rejections, and judgments do you have about what people should choose and receive?
I know, but if it's a week, fine. A month, fine.
Create it all.
Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. If you weren't making time a linearity, would it be relevant if and when they chose more?
No, true story. No.
What if you gave them everything they can have right now?
Yes, and I'm getting that, but I'm making myself wrong for maybe not presenting things in a more inviting way to choose even more than that. Okay, you don't have to say anything. I got it. I got it.
Right. For those of you who are facilitators out there, isn't it wonderful? Well, I guess you're all facilitators. What am I talking about? Isn't it wonderful to call and ask you a question and they basically give you all the information and everything they said?
Yep. Yeah, thanks. I needed that.
It's like, okay, they chose what they can choose. And every now and then someone comes along that goes, yeah, I'm going for it.
Yeah.
And awesome. But you can't judge your value as a facilitator based on what people are willing to choose.
True. That's true.
The last facilitator class that we had at, what's that country down in with the horses? Costa Rica.
Costa Rica.
Simone and Dane and Brendan, Gary, they were all talking about, there was one common theme that I remember. And one of the most freeing things that Simone was saying was she is willing to show up at class and deliver only what people are asking for. Because she was getting disappointed and frustrated, I'm paraphrasing here, but she was coming to class with this excitement, this zeal for life, and this enthusiasm for the possibilities available, and people were asking for this. That totally changed how I facilitate, because I'm now willing to go to class and instead of working my ass off to give people things that they aren't willing to have or interested in and making myself wrong for their willingness to choose it. Instead, I say, hey guys, this class is a buffet beyond your wildest imagination, but I can only serve and deliver what you request. Without your request, I'm willing to deliver nothing.
I totally get that. If I take the last class in New York, these guys were starving and they were asking for the buffet and more. You know, so I was really delivering, and I was like, okay, you're asking for it, so here it is. And then they're, you know, it seems like they want more, but they ask you more for more of the same instead of more, just more, greater, even greater than that. And I'm seeing so many photographers that, you know, I had the point of view until a few months ago that photographers, a lot of them, most of them were techies or humans. And, you know, the humanoids are showing up from everywhere now. And, you know, there were people flying from India for a one-day class with me in New York, and from the UK, from, you know, different places in the world for just a one-day class. So I was super grateful for that. And for these people actually really knowing what they were in for, which was not a photography class, basically. And I was like, so grateful for all of that, that I was waiting for, okay, so how do we go further from here? And instead, is it still the same question? That's as far as they want to go?
Yeah.
It is, isn't it? Fine.
And it's as far as they want to go right now.
Right. Okay,
For
so
those-
instead it's the gratitude.
Yeah. For those of us who
Yeah.
have relationships, do you ever get frustrated with your partner in their willingness to see the possibilities you see?
Nah, never.
Never.
Never. What creates change and ease and all that? Allowance.
Yeah.
I mean, with after this, like the 7-day class that we just had, the one tool that seems more important than ever as awareness and consciousness expands, allowance.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
You're welcome.
Chris,
Yes.
hi. Guys, you are all phenomenal. Every fucking word, every sentence is phenomenal. Thank you for that. It's fucking phenomenal. How does you get better than this? Okay, I just, the question is how to, okay, when you're a new facilitator, and again, knowing for a trillion years and all your lifetime that actually you are really being facilitator all the time, but you get into the context of access and you're becoming new, and
What's
people
the
don't
context
know
of
you.
access?
Yeah, like, no, just you become access facilitator, okay? And you're presenting yourself to the world and people don't know you, okay? And how to invite people to the class while people don't know you. Like more people than, yeah.
Awesome. So I used to study music, classical music, and I studied a lot of the weird 20th century and 21st century composers that just did the strangest shit you can imagine. And there was one composer from New York who did just bizarre stuff. You may have heard of this one piece of music he wrote where he walks out onto the stage, sits down at the piano and plays nothing for 3 minutes. And the music is the sound in the audience. And he made this name for himself by being so different and so out there and so avant-garde. And he went to this symposium of composers in Paris, and this very established, well-known, old, famous French composer said to him, "Oh, it must be so difficult for you creating art away from the center of creativity in Europe." And he turned to the composer and he said, "Really? I think it must be very hard for you to create being stuck in the center of established creativity that you're in." He had a different point of view. So you know the thing we talked about earlier about your point of view creates your reality? What point of view do you have about being a new facilitator that's creating your business as it is now?
Oh, yes.
And what point of view does everyone have about being an old facilitator that creates their business as it is now? Everything that is times a godzillion. Can we destroy and uncreate it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. What if none of it was relevant? And what if, see, what I do with my business is I look at all of the touch points, I'm going to call them, of how people engage with me and get to know me. So a touch point in a business, from how I look at it, is like, say if you were the Subway sandwich shop, your touch points would be your staff who engage with people in customer service, the advertising that you do, your presence on social media, the colors that you use to brand your business, the logo that you use, the uniforms that your employees wear, the things that you actually offer on the menu. Those are all of the different ways that people get to know and have a sense of what you have to offer. So if you were actually creating your business with the touch points that reflected and communicated you, what could that look like? If you look at all the big companies in the world, all the brands that are quote unquote global successes, like say, for example, Coca-Cola, they all started somewhere. They were all new once, and they all reached for a possibility that would speak to people with who and what they have to offer. What if you looked at your business as a facilitator as being the future Coca-Cola?
Yeah.
You know, there's a huge consideration that they've put into in the shape of their bottles and the font of their logo and the colors associated with their brand.
Yeah.
What if being new was one of the most creative places that you could be? And what if we could all be new every day?
Yeah.
Everything that is times a godzillion. Can we destroy and create it all?
Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Does anyone else have? Yes, go ahead.
Something to that? Thank you. It's phenomenal. Okay, there's one more question. Just so yeah, we including this reality, all things of course that are working, all things that you were saying. Yeah, it's great. Yet having the consciousness, having the awareness that yeah, everything you were saying. Just we have to be again patient because there is some linearity involved. It's the beginning. Yeah, point of view, everywhere I think it's the beginning, pot and pock. So it's just the space of possibilities. But again, for some things, we do need time.
Yeah, and like I said, with the first thing we were talking about, be grateful for what it is and as it is now, with no projection of what it's supposed to be tomorrow. If you're willing to go on the adventure of just playing with where you are now, I guarantee you in 12 months, you'll look back and go, holy shit, look how much I created.
Great. It's amazing. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I have
Okay,
a question, Chris.
yes.
So I have typed that in chat as well. So like right now my business is having a certain name that is not my name. So like when you talk about having that, you know, when we are kind of reflecting ourselves through the business, and also when in Access we talk about that the business is not you, it's a separate entity. So
Yeah.
here in that case, what do you suggest? Like, you know, having ourselves like my name as the brand to my business, or like right now I have One Infinity Holistics as the brand. So, you know, what works better? Like right now, I also sense that probably my business name right now as a brand is not showing up the way probably my name would.
Okay, so here's my advice. Stop trying to get it right.
Okay. Okay.
Everybody, you're looking for the right name and the right package and the right way to present your business and your facilitation. Can we destroy and uncreate all that, please?
Yes, please.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. There is no right way. There is no, oh, you should name it this, it should be this, it should be that. I brought up all those business touch points just so that you can start to have a different awareness of it, so that you can actually look at it and make choices based on awareness, not choices based on the right way to do it. See, those big brands I mentioned, like Coca-Cola, they definitely have a bit of rightness in their point of view on how to be and present your business. I'm not saying you need to duplicate that. I'm just going, what if you could create on that scale?
Yes.
And what aspects of your business have you never looked at or considered before that, if you did, would give you more possibilities and more awareness?
Yes.
Everything that is times a godzillion. Can we destroy and uncreate it all?
Yes, please.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds.
Thank you for that, Chris.
You're welcome.
Chris, I'm so grateful for this. Thank you so much.
Thank
It's like
you.
every question I want to ask, I'm facilitating myself. But I wanted to just I was looking at, ever since this conversation came up, I'm like, do I have an underlying point of view creating my classes? Yes or no? Yes. What is that? And I realized I was coming at myself from the space of there must be a problem. And so therefore I've got to ferret out the problem with what's showing up instead of gratitude. So I'm really grateful for that.
You're welcome.
When you are looking at where to go, is your reality with choosing much more of a, will this create more yes or no? Yes, I'm going.
Yep.
Okay. Cool.
I mean, as you go on as a facilitator, you will get offers to facilitate all kinds of different places, and you'll notice that your hosts have all sorts of things going on. Yeah. Some people invite you to their location because they want the class.
Yep.
They want the facilitation and they want the information. They're not actually that interested or willing to create a class for you that works for you and your business.
Yes.
So I always go on that awareness, because just like anybody in your life who comes to you and asks for something or engages with you or presents a possibility, they present the possibility as though it's this bright, shiny thing.
Yes.
You have to see past that and go, okay, is this going to create?
Cool. That's what I changed this year. And I'm so grateful that you said it, because I'm seeing all the places where I did all of that. I chose and got awareness and chose and got awareness and chose and got awareness. And so it's having total awareness of all the things. Is this actually going to work? Does this work? Will it create, and does it work? Is that?
Yes, that's another good one. Will this work?
Cool.
I recently did a class in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
That was my idea.
Which is where I'm sort of from. Yes. And I'm so grateful I went, because it was an awesome class and created a lot for a lot of people. It was also one of the hardest classes I've ever done. And I was talking to Gary about it afterwards, and I was like, why was this so full on for me? And he said, well, did you ask, is this going to work? And I went, no, but I did ask, would it create more? And he said, well, did it? And I went, yeah, it facilitated a lot for a lot of the people there. And the awareness I got from being there was amazing. But with each of the people since that have come to me going, hey, will you come here and do a class? I always, not necessarily to them, but in my head, I go, is this going to work?
Great.
Because as you travel, people in different locations have such different things going on and different points of view governing what they're willing to create or
yes, that's what I've noticed too. Okay. So will this create more? Will this work? Is there anything else that you have started asking?
Will it be fun?
Yeah, the same questions you ask before you sleep with somebody.
Yeah, same questions you ask before you have sex, ask before you create a class.
Okay. Oh my God, thank you so much. Brilliant.
Will it be fun? Will they be grateful? Will I learn anything?
I love it. Cool, thank you.
You're welcome. So I think this is an hour-long thing. We're probably going to wrap up pretty shortly. Is that right, Betsy?
Yes, sir, it is. And I was wondering too, if you could tell everybody about the class that you have coming up in Australia.
Yes, absolutely. So as part of the Aussie tour that we have coming up here in a very short time, we have the COP coming up with Dane. We have the mutant class with all 4 facilitators. We have the SOP coming, and then we have the facilitator class in Australia, which is super exciting. I love this time of year. Then I am doing the Right Voice facilitator class as well. And we've made this class available to all facilitators. Even if you've not done a 3-day Right Voice for You class or have done the prereqs to become a Right Voice facilitator, we have opened this up to anyone to attend online or live. And the reason for that is we would really like to offer to all facilitators the tools that Right Voice has in getting your voice out into the world. I want to be real clear with everybody. Right Voice is not a class about singing, and it is not a class about being on stage. It is a class about developing your capacity and willingness to engage with the world, to be out there and to share the gift and the magic that you are without hiding and without shying away from the opportunities to be on camera, be seen, be heard, get your advertisements and announcements out there in a way that is inviting and engaging to people. What you have to offer, from my point of view, is one of the most potent and valuable things on the planet. And my target is assisting you in getting that out there so that more people have access to it.
And I just want to say, as someone who took your Right Voice class after taking 18,000 other access classes, it was probably the most advanced access class I've ever taken. And it contributed to me showing up as me more than anything I've taken so far. So I'm really grateful. I really recommend.
That class, again, was awesome.
Yeah.
And Chris, just one question, super short. Will that class available to all the facilitators? Right Voice in Australia will be like the same case in Budapest in January?
Well, in Budapest in January, that's a Right Voice for You 3-day class. That's a different thing than the Right Voice facilitator class that is occurring in Australia. That one is open to all, no prereqs. The one that we're doing in Australia is the facilitators class. We will not be handling anyone's personal issue. It's going to be about facilitating, creating change, and getting your voice out in the world. That one we're making available to CFs and DFs to attend live or online.
But to become a Right Voice for You facilitator, still all the prerequisites should be done, right? Like
Yes.
2-3 days?
But yes, you need to be a CF. You need to have done the facilitator class and attend 2 of the 3-day classes. However, if you come to the facilitator class, we're giving you 4 months to do the other prerequisite classes. So there's still some room. If you go to the class and go, I want to be a facilitator, we will assist you in creating that. And we've given people some time to do those prerequisite classes. Awesome.
I also wanted to thank you, Chris. I don't know if I'm muted or not.
No, we can hear you.
Oh, cool. I'm in the airport. Sorry about the background noise. It's Julie.
Hi, Julie.
In San Francisco. And your class was amazing. And afterwards, the ability to show up, the ability to speak on camera, create videos and stuff, it's just totally changed. And I'm really grateful. So everybody should totally choose this opportunity.
Thanks, guys. I would love for you to come. And if anyone has any other questions for me
Please.
going forward, I really want to be available for you as facilitators. My website is mrchristopherhughes.com, Mr. as in MR, christopherhughes.com. Please get in touch. I have telecalls and things coming up all the time that you might want to get involved with, or free things, but I just want to let you know that if you have questions, please feel free to reach out and ask me. I have been so blessed and so lucky to have been involved with Access for a long time, and I really just like to contribute.
Christopher?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
You were saying that we could attend live or online your facilitators class in December, and that you were giving people 4 months to attend the 2 other classes. But does that mean that a certified facilitator can do it this way? Take the facilitators training first and then do the 3 days classes live?
Yes, that's true.
And then become a facilitator of the Right Voice for You? Oh, that's great. That's very generous. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Well, thank you guys so much. If there's no other questions, I just want to say thank you. And thank you so much to Betsy for being here for this and hosting us. And I hope to see some of you in the future or down under. If you guys can make it live and online, we'd love to have you there.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Chris.
you,
for your
Chris.
time. Thank you,
Thank you
Translate.
so much, Chris.
Thank you, Chris. You're
Thank you.
amazing.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Well, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.